Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna wait for this train to go by.
How dare you?
I dare. Welcome to the Survivor Turning Back Time podcast, the Survivor podcast that really insensitively names its episodes. I am your host, Stephen Levine, with my co-host, Jared Sheldon. Jared, how you feeling?
Steven, if Survivor had an episode where a plane hit the Twin Towers right next to where they were seated, it would probably be some pun about airplanes in the night sky or something.
Oh my god. Okay. Wow.
That joke took off. I had no idea where it was going to land.
Jared, no.
This has been a fun thing to make with you, Steven. We have now been canceled.
Yeah, so the Survivor Turning Back Time podcast will now be canceled and replaced with something else. What other thing do we know a little bit about that we can substitute this with?
The Survivor Turning Back Time podcast does not advocate for terrorism.
That's sad that that's something that we have to say, but here we are.
Here we are. What's something else? We can make it a football podcast.
Oh, well, okay. I don't know that we know enough about that.
Fantasy football.
I don't know that I know enough about that.
I mean, Cooper Kupp's carrying your team, right?
That's fair.
Did you see what I just texted you?
I did.
Yeah.
What was amazing is that you went into the bathroom. This is our double recording, so
yes.
This is one that I watched with Jared. We finished the episode, Jared went into the bathroom, and not even 20 seconds had gone by, and you had texted me that.
Yep.
It was really impressive.
I get the information fast, Stephen. I know a guy.
I guess. Jeez.
I know a guy who knows a guy.
I know a guy.
I know Cooper Kupp. His cell phone number is actually my phone.
Oh, okay. Well, that's better than other people we could be talking about.
Although, Steven, you do have an NFL player's phone number in your phone.
That is true, and you have told me to text not so nice things to him.
Well, he shouldn't whine to the refs so much. Do you want to talk about having an NFL player's phone number in your phone?
I mean, vaguely. I mean, I grew up in the same town as an NFL football player. We went to the same high school. We went to the same college. He was really nice. He was super nice. He stopped me. He was in his senior year.
Your dad was his wide receivers coach.
That's true. He was in his senior year at the college that I went to, and he stopped me in the hallway just to check how I was doing, how freshman year was going. I was like, that's super cool. Gave me his number. Hey, if you have any problems, just let me know. Super cool. Now he's in the NFL. He was not supposed to go to the NFL. He was a long shot, so that narrows your list a little bit.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you who it is, but if you look up small town Minnesota undrafted currently in the NFL, your list is pretty short there.
Probably pretty short. Yeah. Does he listen to our podcast?
Absolutely not.
You should tell him about our podcast.
He has far better things to do, I hope.
I mean, probably.
Unless he's Kyler Murray. He should be studying and spending time with his family.
Yeah, you can listen on the plane rides and
that's fair.
Bus trips and stuff.
That's true. Something that I didn't say last episode. Thank you if you're emailing us, but we do have I think this is going to be the pattern now, is that we'll record 2 a week, so we'll get to your emails every other episode.
Yeah.
If you wish to email us, that email is still the same. It is the Survivor Turn Back Time.
No, survivortbt@gmail.com.
That is correct. I am half a whiskey in. survivortbt@gmail.com. You could also tweet at us at survivortbt or on Reddit, survivortbt as well. We are
That's true.
Covering all of our bases.
That's true. Did I tell you about the time I did a stage combat intensive where there was an NFL player that I got partnered up with?
Oh my god, no.
Okay, so this is great. So for those of you that don't know anything about stage combat, or stunt work or anything like that, you don't hit people. There's very few contact hits. There are some, I think a lot of punches to the stomach and stuff are contact.
But like light contact. And
Of course,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
squishy bits.
Right, in the squishy bits, and actually a lot of the times you make a fist and go towards their stomach, and then you kind of like turn your fingers flat when it hits. It makes a better sound anyway. But especially in film, they're very, very rarely touching each other because they just get a different camera angle, and you know their hand can be like 5-6 inches away from the person.
Is the goal. What I've experienced in these classes is not always that.
Correct. So I'm doing, it's intensive down in Florida, the University of Florida. It's not affiliated, that's just where they were running it. I won free tickets from doing one in Chicago. And there's one that's for movies.
Okay.
You take a bunch of different classes a day, and this one specifically is for film, for movies and TV. And I get paired up, just at random, with this guy that's just a brick shit house. He's like 6'5". He was wearing a shirt, but I assume he has a 12-pack. And we're like, doing small talk before, and he's like, oh yeah, I played cornerback for the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Bears.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my God. Yeah, like he seemed like he was like probably a practice squad guy that bounced around a little bit.
Was this the movies or the theatrical one?
What do you mean?
Workshop.
Oh, it was both throughout the entire workshop, but this specific workshop of this time slot was for movies.
Okay, that makes sense. Like, I see the transition. I finished my NFL career. I want to go jump into...
Correct.
Okay.
He's like, I'm ripped and handsome now, and I'm done with the NFL. Now I want to make this transition to movies. I don't think he did. But we're doing it, and he's just like, what are you doing, man? Just hit me. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, no, just like punch me in the abs. And I was like, I will break my hand, sir.
I don't want to do that.
He's like, no, just hit me. And I was like, okay. So I like hit him, and he's like, harder.
Oh my God.
So I hit him harder. He goes, harder. And then I hit him harder again. He's like, yeah, there we go. I can react to that. And I was like, sir, I don't think you understand the essence of acting.
I don't like this. I'm not supposed to be hitting you.
I'm not supposed to be hitting you. And it's like during like a middle of like a choreography sequence. It was just weird. It was very bizarre. Oh my God. Yeah, acting is doing, but like also not. You don't need to be actually punching people. It didn't make the choreography better.
No. This is why method actors scare me. If you are acting to the point that you are losing control of your body, or you are just in a headspace that is not focused on the scene, you are a liability to yourself and everyone around you.
Hot take, if you're a method actor, you shouldn't be an actor. You don't know how to act. You know how to, like, put yourself in a state of psychosis where you are a danger to everyone around you.
Yeah, you are an expert. What's the
con artist, really?
Oh, yeah, that's true. I was thinking what's the thing with the watch where you hypnotize people? Hypnotist.
Oh, yes.
That's the word I'm looking for.
You had the root word.
Yeah, you are a hypnotist of yourself.
Yep.
So this episode might be a little weird.
Why, Steven?
Well, it might be short. We don't have a whole lot to talk about in this one. So if it's short, it's just the nature of the beast on this one. If it's not, I don't know how we squeezed this much information out of what we had from that episode. So
yeah, I love to talk.
Cool. Bumper.
All right, so this episode came out on March 1st of 2001. Not a lot happened between last episode and this episode. Really, the only thing was the 32nd NAACP Image Awards, which are not like probably a huge screening event. But Remember the Titans won Outstanding Motion Picture.
Oh.
So this would have been,
great movie.
It's a great movie. So this would have been like right after Remember the Titans came out. So that's sort of the time period we're in the world. Still that really weird song that neither of us know is the top charting song. It stays there for longer than I would have expected, to be honest. Don't really understand it. Don't know why. Stutter by Joe featuring Mystical. I believe it will also be our song next week.
Okay.
So go listen to it. It's terrible. It's not terrible. It's that like really soft 2000s R&B that was popular for like 3 years.
It's again, we talked about this earlier. It's a song that doesn't have a hook, so it's not memorable.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that every song needs a hook, because that's the danger that we're in with pop music right now.
True.
Is it's all hook and there's no substance. But yeah, there's nothing that I can go back and be like, ah, yes, that song.
Let me put it this way. The lyrics video for it on YouTube that has been out for, 12, 14 years has 870,000 views.
Ah,
As a number one charting song
Yeah.
at one point.
Yeah.
It didn't last very long. Or didn't last in people's minds.
cool. Let's just get into the episode. It is episode 6, Trial by Fire, and I alluded to this at the beginning. Man,
Yeah, Steven selected this episode on Paramount Plus and literally looked at the episode, went, what's the episode title? And then went, yikes.
yeah, real yikes.
And I had no idea why at the time, and now that I do, yikes.
Yeah, big yikes. I get it. Like, this was not a big deal. Someone was just titling the episode for the DVD box set later on. But man, why? Why this? But if you know anything about Survivor and you know anything about the season, you know what we're talking about. We're just gonna keep going. Oh yeah, Jared and I talked about the intro. Why did I write this down?
Oh, yeah, so we missed the intro in the new seasons.
Sure, I've said this a million times.
You have. But what made it more interesting is you were like, I get it. It wastes a lot of screen time. And I said, wait, why don't they just cut out the people who get voted off? To which you informed me that's not how songs work.
Yeah, you can't just stop a song mid-song. Believe me, audio editing, I know.
Yeah.
It does not work that way. But I liked your idea of cutting people out of the intro as they were eliminated. Some shows do that. I do remember, it would be very difficult for the editors because you have to put out a new intro every single time. I believe how The Mole addresses this is they have the same intro, but when they show people's faces, who have been eliminated, they are grayed out, and then they put an X over their face.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the mole got them, so they don't exist anymore, but we don't want to change the intro because that would be more work. But
Sure.
we change it anyway, but only slightly. Yeah. We jump right into the episode. Kentucky Joe.
Well, I do want to say, actually,
ahead.
before we do, in the recap, Jeff gives the credit of the pep talk to Colby. That gets Okafor over that motivates Okafor.
I didn't notice that. But
yeah, he says that Colby inspires his tribe with a pep talk, and I just don't agree with him.
No,
I
that's pretty shitty.
It's pretty shitty. Amber's the one who instigates that conversation.
Yep.
And gives the first speech, and I guess you could argue with what we see of the editing that Colby's speech is better.
Sure.
He's still not the one that took the initiative, and Amber's speech was I think just as good. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of shitty.
Yeah. At that time, I was definitely more concerned with the title of the episode than...
It meant nothing to me yet.
Yeah. Episode starts, Kentucky Joe is talking about the downpour from the night before. And they're right. 5 minutes into the tribal council, it starts pouring on them. They have to walk home. Everyone is drenched. And then they have to jump into bed. And they're trying their best to be dry, but it's not working.
They light a candle so they can find dry clothes.
Yeah, I had a moment of, where the hell did they get a candle? Probably from the Target gift bag that they won from the last reward.
Sure. Or it was somebody's luxury item.
I guess that's a thing that they could do.
Yeah.
What a waste of a luxury item.
It sure would be.
And I did have a good laugh when Kentucky Joe struggles to blow out the candle at the end of the night. It's one of those, it's totally relatable. I would be this person. You blow the first time. Nope, it didn't go. Get a little closer, blow the second time. Didn't go. Get right up next to it, blow a third time.
Kentucky Joe's just so likable.
He's so likable.
He's not as good on the camera as a Rudy. Mm-hmm. But he's just so pure. Him and Elizabeth are so pure.
Yeah, and that's why they bond.
I love the two of them.
They're adorable. And then I write down, there is so much foreshadowing in this episode. They show Scoopin' near the fire so many times.
See, I didn't even track that.
At least 3 times. The first time, they're just showing him, messing with the fire. They're showing him, a little closer than he should be, kind of messing with it, with the popcorn.
Oh, sure.
Later on, it shows him, tiny burns when he's messing with the popcorn. He like burns his hand on the popcorn container. Like they are 100% being like, hey, something's gonna happen. They would have no other reason to show this footage.
Well, and they also kind of hint at it in the last episode.
Uh-huh.
With Scoopin being the one who takes an ember. In the shelter.
No, it was Varner in the last.
Oh, it was Varner. Okay,
but
never
still,
mind.
They're insinuating that fire is dangerous at this point, and
Breaking news: fire is dangerous.
like, oh my god! I was sitting there watching that last episode, saying, "Oh my, they're telling us right up front what's gonna happen." But only I know that. Jared
Only
doesn't
you
know
knew that. I had no clue because so they hint that something bad happens.
Uh-huh.
I'd say more than hint. They tell you something bad happens.
Correct.
In the preview for this episode at the end of last episode. They show a helicopter taking off.
Yep.
Since we know that people get medevaced, I was like, oh, this is the show's first medevac. But because they show someone in the water struggling, I thought someone got attacked by like a gator or something.
And it's true. You said that, and that was what you were standing by before, like right up until it happened.
And I knew it was someone on Kucha.
Uh-huh.
And this is, side note, this is all from the next time on Survivor from last episode.
Correct.
This is not something that's been spoiled for me. This is just context clues from the previous episode. I knew it was someone on Kucha, and I knew it wasn't Elizabeth or Roger because I saw Roger comforting Elizabeth after the fact in the next time on.
Yep.
So I just thought one of them was in the river and got attacked by a giant gator, and I was horrified of what we were going to see.
Yep. And I was horrified when we actually saw it, but we'll get to that. Nick tries to set up the stretcher as a hammock
Several times.
several times. It doesn't work.
No!
He tries to like lean it up against a tree, and that doesn't work. He tries to wedge it between two trees. That also does not work. I think he gives up.
He's like, he starts. I think he starts putting it on the ground and then putting like rocks to hold it
Yeah.
up. It's not big enough for you, dude.
No. And I'm sure this is, again, things that we wouldn't see if they didn't have... If they had more things to show in this episode.
Well, they also show us nearly 10 minutes of Jerry and Amber being horny for chocolate.
Hold
Okay,
that thought
okay.
for 2 seconds. One thing between, we're talking merge. Both tribes talk merge.
Yes.
Mostly Kucha is saying we're gonna slaughter them. Like there's no reason why we can't slaughter them. We have the numbers. We should win this challenge.
Mm-hmm. This challenge is huge stakes because if Ogakor loses the immunity challenge, they will be down 6 members to 4 members.
Yeah.
And if Kucha stays together, they can just pick them off one by one. And they've only seen one season of Survivor.
Yeah.
Only one season exists, and that's exactly what Toggy did.
But even then, they came in 5-5.
Right.
Toggy was smart about it. Toggy
Stuck
voted together.
Yeah.
But it sets up a more interesting battle with what's going forward. They know that if they have the numbers, then boom, they're in the clear for at least final 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we get to the Ogakor tribe, where Jerry is fantasizing about chocolate and sex.
Yes.
Jerry and Amber.
Yes. And Jerry is much more explicit about it than I expected. Mm-hmm. I didn't... Well, okay.
Go on, tell me your thoughts.
From what we've seen of Jerry, I was not surprised with how explicit she was being. I was surprised they kept it in the show. I was surprised they let her talk so openly about sex in a family-friendly CBS primetime show circa 2001.
Ooh, would you consider Survivor family friendly?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yes. You grew up watching it with your parents. I grew up watching it with mine. My parents are evangelical as hell. Like, there was a couple Halloweens where my parents were like, "It is evil. We are going to the bowling alley instead." I was not allowed to watch Harry Potter growing up. Now, their lines were a little weird because, like, another, like, craze that swept evangelical craziness
that's an easy target for churches.
Right, but Pokemon was also one, but they were fine with Pokemon. They drew the line in weird places. But Survivor was something we loved watching as a family. I definitely would consider Survivor a family-friendly show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting with what we've seen so far that's in the mindset, but, like, I get it. I like I said, I grew up watching it. I've continued to watch it.
I mean, it's broadcast television at this. You can get this on like CBS, like on your antenna. Like this is supposed to be for everyone to watch. This is the lewdest I think they get is Jerry's talk, and then maybe like some of the Greg stuff from season 1.
I would say it's far raunchier at this point in Survivor than it is at right now in current 2022 form, and possibly just because they have less things that they can show.
Sure.
There's far less strategy and gamesmanship going on, so let's give more slice of life, talk about sex, because we can.
And also, in an era... I would not consider America in 2001 to be the most sex-positive place on the planet.
No.
That also makes sense as to why Jerry gets the villain title. Partially. There's a lot of Jerry that is a villain.
Okay.
But I think that they are using that footage to reinforce that villain narrative.
I would disagree, but I don't have any evidence to back it up, so I'm just gonna, like... It didn't seem villain-esque to, like, setting her up for failure, but also I can't put myself back in that 2001 mindset.
Not for failure, but like, look, see, it's a loose woman. She can't be controlled.
Oh, no. I did make a point of noticing this is what, day 15?
16.
Day 16. That is not that long between sex.
No.
Again, it takes a full day to fly you out to Australia.
Sure.
Multiple days to maybe prep you for the game.
It might have been 3 weeks. Maybe at most a month. Like, since she would have had the opportunity. Who knows how long it's actually been in her personal life.
Okay.
But
that's fair.
But she likes Colby. She's attracted to Colby.
Yeah. She's really macking on Colby. And
she is down bad for Colby.
She wants it real bad. So Amber and her are listing off they're talking about how sex gives off the same chemicals in your brain as chocolate.
Yep.
And so Jerry's fantasizing about peppermint patties and smothering a man in chocolate and having sex with him.
And it's Colby. I mean, it's Colby.
She explicitly says, yeah, it's definitely Colby that I'm imagining doing this to.
Colby's kind of over her.
Oh my god.
He's so annoyed.
This is the most... it's so close to a blow up that had either side been listening to what was going on, I feel like there could have been a blow up.
Well, Colby is like actively telling us how annoyed he is and how much he's like, I want her to go home.
6 feet from
6 feet from her while she's being like, peppermint patties.
And we have an Amber oh my god sighting, so that's fun.
That's true.
Not our only of the episode. It continues on. It's beautiful. Oh yeah, and Jerry's banging her drum while listing these
Every
things.
time she says one, she starts doing the drum over and over again. Like a coffee shop in Brooklyn.
Yeah. And Colby is like, this is nuts, and just he's so frustrated and doesn't know what to do, giving a confessional about how frustrated he is in camp 6 feet away from everyone else.
It's perfect.
It's so good. Cooch is eating the chicken feed.
It's very smart.
It's smart.
It's like, hey, wait, we're starving. We're giving our food, but what if we just eat our food's food? It's not bad for us. And then it turns into popcorn.
Yeah, they realize that there's grains in there, and they're like, there's bits that we can't eat. Wait, this is corn.
And they're really, it's a big lump of knobs.
It has the juice.
They're very smart about it too. Like they lay out the, like some type of fabric and then basically like roll on it so that all the stuff they can't eat that's lighter rolls down the fabric and all the stuff they can eat stays at the top.
Yeah.
It's great.
So they're picking at it, and eventually they just like throw it into a cast iron skillet and put it on the fire. And this is where I'm saying Scoopin is like popping the popcorn. He's like, it's like bubbling like popcorn. Oh, it is popcorn. And then he burns himself. And I'm like, oh no.
Oh my god, he does.
He does. It's very like, oh, Survivor, you're heavy-handed here, but
it's a little heavy-handed.
Good
I
on
like
you.
it.
We flip over. This is just the episode all over the place.
It's,
In Ogakor, Tina has to call a timeout.
Because Keith and Jerry are... Can you imagine being around these two people as they bicker for 16 days?
No. There's so much patience going on.
God.
And Tina's kind of been the level-headed one here, and Tina has to... Even a tiny blow-up of... What? Guys, stop.
Tina straight up says, like, if we lose this challenge, one of the two of them has to go home.
Yeah.
And she implies it would be Jerry.
Yeah.
If I was not Keith or Jerry, I'd be getting Colby and Amber and be like, listen, one of these two gotta go.
We gotta get out.
We have to.
Please, flip a coin. I don't care.
Can we throw this immunity challenge to get one of these people out of here?
No, you can't, because then it would be 4-6.
No, I know you can't. But it's like, there's also the like living in camp aspect of the game that isn't as important for us, the audience.
Yeah.
But dude, I would be miserable with these people.
I would too. I would be frustrated. Jerry and Keith. Jerry is cooking green tomato, like tiny
Trying
green
to do
tomatoes.
fried green tomatoes.
Yeah.
Which Keith says, leave those out one more day and they'll be ripe. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's how ripening works.
No.
I don't think they'd go from green to red in a day.
Tomatoes turn fast, but still, they were tiny. They weren't gonna turn in a day.
And they're starving, and they only are in this camp for like a couple more days.
Yeah.
But then she's also being like, no, I know how to cook them, and he's a chef. Mm-hmm. Neither of them are in the right. They're both terrible. Like, they make each other worse.
Yes, correct. You remove one from the equation, and suddenly both become much more likable.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. Reward challenge. They drop in the note saying you're going to be leading people around in the dark. And if you didn't know any better, your brain goes, oh, they're doing like a night challenge, mm-hmm. like that one where they were in a weird military base in season 1. No, this is the first blindfold challenge.
And at least Kucha seems to know that.
Yeah, Kucha figures it out and does like practicing. Mm-hmm. They're leading each other around with their buffs around their eyes and doing whatever they need to do. Ogakor, in the meantime, is doing yoga.
It's an important team building activity.
It is,
I guess.
However, you should be also practicing finding your way around in the dark.
Probably.
Yes. So this challenge is brought to you by Mountain Dew and
Doritos. Gamer Fuel.
Ooh, Gamer Fuel.
Gamer Fuel. Mountain Dew and Doritos. That's Gamer Fuel, baby.
Yeah. Both owned by PepsiCo, though.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yep.
So Pepsi is the real sponsor behind this one. Good on you. Jeff brings out one Dorito chip per tribe. Like, ooh, enjoy this Dorito.
Give each of them one chip. Why are they sharing one chip?
They love doing that, though. They love, here's a taste of what you could win.
Like, give them, like, a chip each person and, like, one can to split from the tribe, through the whole tribe.
Yeah, they do give one whole can for each... Oh, no, is it one can to
that
be
he, like,
split?
pours into cups.
Yeah, two cups. But that's all that they show as the reward is just Doritos and Mountain Dew.
They say it's going to be a picnic, and then they only show the Doritos and Mountain Dew. I think it was more than that. I think they just wanted the sponsor to be front and center.
I really hope they were given anything other than Doritos and Mountain Dew. Because
it'd make you so sick.
It would make you unbelievably sick.
Like, you've eaten nothing but rice and, like... I guess they've had chicken and pig.
But, like, straight, clean protein.
Yep.
And then suddenly, haha, here's Mountain Dew and Doritos, an entire bag just for you. You're going to throw up over in the corner.
Yeah. It'd be the best vomit of your life, though.
Oh, would it be worth it? Yes, it would.
So, Ogakor picks Jerry, and Kucha picks Nick to lead their tribes. Do you think those were the right choices?
I was surprised by Nick.
I was, too. Which goes to show that the edit has done Nick a little dirty.
Yes, absolutely.
Because clearly his tribe believes in him at least somewhat, even if we've had the lazy black man edit.
Yeah, real
Gross.
shitty on that one.
But we've seen nothing of him. Now, some of that is attributed to not seeing a lot of Kucha in general. Mm-hmm. Because Ogakor's struggles have been the primary point of drama.
Yeah, we've either been Ogakor struggles or Kucha's murderous rampage.
Yeah, we've seen Michael. We've seen a lot of Coopin.
A lot of scooping.
Scoopin.
Coopin.
We've seen a little bit of Varner. It's like we'll go back to Cooch's camp every once in a while for Varner to give us the TLDR and what happened the last 2 days. Mm-hmm. And we saw some Kimmy, and that's pretty much it for the last several episodes.
Yeah.
So give them a tiny benefit of the doubt there.
Sure.
And then take all of it away because, like, if Nick is the person leading your tribe, how have we not seen anything of him this whole time?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Side note, because you just sparked in my brain when you said Coopin. Have you seen the trailer for the Mario Bros. Movie?
No.
You haven't seen it?
Nope.
Oh, okay, we're going to watch
I've heard Chris Pratt's voice in it.
Have you?
Just like one line of it.
Oh, okay.
It's the LaCroix of Italian accents.
It's just Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With, like, he's doing, like, 1% trying to be, like, his hands doing the Italian motion. You can hear it a little bit in his voice, and that's it.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. Okay, back to the challenge. What sound dynamic wise, their vocal dynamics and vocal just science on this one, I always find really interesting in these challenges because who you put up there could really change how you are heard. Because you're going to have, depending on the season, 2 to 3 people shouting at the same time.
Yeah.
The thought process being the lower, deeper voices carry better. They always, just how sound works is that you can be heard over further distances, usually better. But the higher pitched voices will ping better and can always be heard over like other noises. Mm-hmm. It's going to be less intelligible, which I think we see in this, where...
I also just don't know if Jerry's as effective of a communicator.
Yes.
As Nick is, from what we see. Mm-hmm. But continue.
That was pretty much the end of that statement, is that it's always interesting to me who they put up there and how that affects. I think it's a little too simplistic to be splitting it down the line of male voice, female voice, but... There's a lot of interesting science behind this challenge.
Sure. Yeah, I mean acoustics.
Yeah.
The number one thing that jumped out to me is Jerry fumbled the bag on this challenge.
Yeah.
Okafor was doing better. Mm-hmm. Every time that they were actively doing something better, but you see there's a lot of times where Jerry couldn't seem to split her attention. And basically, the first 75% of the challenge, she was just only telling Colby and Amber what to do. Mm-hmm. And leaving... Or maybe it was Colby and Tina, sorry.
Yeah,
and
correct.
leaving Amber and Keith to do nothing and just stand by the side. Whereas Nick was actually trying to maneuver both groups at once.
Yes.
Maybe there's some wisdom in only having one one team do something because you can keep it focused. Maybe during like the fishing traps part of it.
Yeah, I think the first half there were 4 sections. The first, you had to put logs in a sawhorse. You had to switch out fishing traps. You had to... What was the third section?
Take buckets and fill them with water to
Yes.
get it to the top of a wine barrel.
Yeah, and then you had to bring a basket to...
Put a picnic basket on a table.
Yes.
So, she should have used Colby, or someone beyond Colby, for either the fishing traps or the water moving, or even especially the log. Like, the other two of them were just standing there while Colby was trying to find the second log, because that's what Jerry told them to do.
Yeah, I think there were times where they just couldn't hear her.
And that's fair too. But it did seem like her attention was really focused. Whereas Nick's was...
Oh, she wanted that chocolate man.
She wanted the chocolate man. He's like, in this picnic, there will be melted chocolate.
Oh, no.
But it was really close. And Amber, if she could have just found the table...
Yeah.
Okafor would have won.
So freaking close. This came down to Amber had the basket, was pretty far ahead. All you had to do was go over to the table and put it down, and they would have won.
Yep.
But Amber goes careening off toward the left like a Minnesota Vikings kicker, and just like hangs out there and can't figure out how to like turn around and find the table.
We have never seen Amber and Blair Walsh in the same room.
Oh.
That's all I'm going to say.
Amber's Blair Walsh.
She might be.
Finkel's Einhorn. I shouldn't quote the transphobic movie. It's a good movie.
What movie is that?
Jim Carrey, football, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
Nailed it.
Thank you. I got there eventually. It's one of the best movies that is horribly unwatchable with how transphobic it is toward the end.
Oh.
Yes. Oops.
And then at the end of the challenge, Colby just takes a bucket of water and throws it at Jerry?
Yeah. I really hope that this is something that Jerry asked for, but it did not look like it.
No, her body language was put off.
Yeah.
It felt like he was mad and blamed the challenge on Jerry.
Yeah.
And was taking it out on her.
Threw a full bucket of water while she was in the high perch chair.
She's a good sport about it. She was like, oh yeah, thanks. I actually needed that. But it didn't feel welcomed at all.
It felt really uncalled for. Colby is playing with his emotions on his sleeve.
Yeah.
And the further we get in, the more he's having a hard time hiding this.
I feel like if a woman acted like Colby did these last couple of episodes,
they would make a villain out of him?
Yes. And they'd label him as overdramatic and reactionary.
Correct.
But Colby gets away with it.
Yeah.
I wonder what the difference is.
You explain what the difference is.
That's true.
Yeah.
just challenging our perceptions of, why certain people get labeled as villains and why certain people don't.
The last thing about this challenge, there's so much challenge here. Again, they're trying to fill space because they're losing an immunity challenge and a tribal council.
They're losing basically half the episode.
Yeah, so they're filling a lot of space. This challenge goes on for about 10 to 15 minutes. It's really long for a 40-minute episode.
That's true. And then we get into the actual meat of the episode.
Yeah, before we do that, we'll stop in at Ogakor.
Yes.
For the essentially them giving themselves like, okay, we need to win today. This is do or die. Like we're either coming in 4-6 or we're coming in 5-5. Tina and Amber are braiding hair. Colby is staring into space.
Colby's having his Wonderwall moment.
Actually, that's pretty good. I can imagine like that soundtrack playing in his head. Today is gonna be the day when it's gonna put it back to you.
No, stop. We'll get canceled. Or not canceled. We'll get copyright striked.
If we get DMCA striked on just me singing, I call that a compliment.
We've made it.
I did that poorly, and that was on purpose poorly, so we'll see what happens. Jerry goes off on her own and also
lays on a rock.
The beautiful pan of there's what I'm assuming is a helicopter, but again, unclear.
Probably.
I would say this is a drone, but I don't think drones existed at this time. So they go from the braiding hair to Colby staring at the river to over and Jerry is laying on a rock. It's a beautiful shot.
And
done.
Colby and Jerry both have the same brain cell in this moment, because Colby is saying, if we go into the merge 4-6, which obviously he doesn't want to do.
Correct.
He says that they think we'll just lay down and die. I'm not so convinced of that. Basically telling us that what happened in season 1 is not going to happen again.
Yes.
And then Jerry says basically the same thing. It actually says, if we're down to 4, it could be a really good opportunity for me because I can, I can switch tribes and all that. Now, I think if Ogakor had done an immunity challenge and had lost an immunity challenge, Jerry's going the hell home. So I don't know why she thinks that. But it's nice to see that at least 2 of the 5 members of Ogakor are going to keep fighting, even if they were down numbers, which they're not going to be.
I had a different read. I think you're right on Jerry. I think Jerry was definitely like, I will absolutely throw my tribe under the bus, get ahead, and work with the other team to get in if I have to. Colby, I definitely think, was more on the other side of we have to win. this is do or die. Like we will be picked off one by one, and doesn't really think about flipping. But I don't know. I was also distracted about what was going to happen in the next few seconds.
I mean, the number one thing on his mind is we have to win this challenge.
Correct.
But we just have different interpretations of what his step 2 was.
Yeah. Step 1, win challenge. Step 2, profit.
No, step 2, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Yeah.
Step 3, profit.
This is a flow chart that makes no sense. This way, profit. This way, shit.
The flowchart is go push Scoopin into the fire.
Well, here we are. On the other side, calm before the storm. We were talking about this. They're showing people laying around. They're showing people.
The tension is because they tell you that something's going to happen. And then the music is there's just like this like little violin note under Camp Life. You're like, something's brewing.
I'm nervous.
I was very nervous.
So this is one that I feel like if I was watching this weekly, I would see that something happened, but I would forget up until the episode, and I would be none the wiser, and then suddenly, boom, bad things happen.
I feel like that would have stuck with me, but that we're also different people. In a week, maybe I would have forgotten.
Yeah.
But it just feels like something that stuck out so... It was so jarring in the next episode, or next time on.
Yeah. I think this is a weird thing that you don't really see anymore, but back at this time, there were definitely like previews of episodes that networks would like fit into commercial breaks. So they would like, hey, on tonight's episode of Survivor, something bad is going to happen. Like almost that they would put at the end of the episode, but it was a commercial break, so it was edited a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't happen anymore.
You're right. Yeah, no, they'd be like, prime time on NBC, and then show you like this, like little vignettes of what was going to happen that night of different shows. I
have nothing to say about it. Just weird in my brain thing. That I'm like, oh,
nostalgia blast.
Weird. Yes. So after we do the shots of people laying around, you hear a scream.
It's a visceral scream.
It's a visceral scream. It's Scoopin. In how it's described to us, Scoopin is tending to the fire. He had just caught fish, so I'm assuming he's getting the fire ready for him to cook the fish. Other people are cleaning. I think Kentucky Joe is cleaning the fish. Scoopin is tending to the fire, inhales too much smoke, passes out momentarily, and puts his hand directly into the fire.
Yeah, it sounds like what happened that we don't know is he fell forward and his hands like he passed out like kind of like a brownout almost, and he went to catch himself with his hands.
Yep.
And was directly in the fire. We see a burn on his shoulder. We see a small burn on his face too.
Yeah, on his cheek too.
So his hands didn't stop him completely, and then I'm guessing probably rolled out. Like when his hands caught him, like the immediate hot pushed him away from the fire.
Yep.
But his hands are messed up.
This is incredibly graphic. The Survivor shows graphic things, but sometimes they pick and choose.
We didn't see the murdering of the pig.
Correct.
They cut away. But they'll show Scoopin's burnt hands.
Yeah. I wonder if they had the shot of Scoopin falling into the fire, would they show that? My hope is no.
I don't think so. And I don't think they had the shot.
They didn't have the shot.
Because you see the cameraman running towards the water being like, what happened?
Yeah. So Scoopin gets up immediately. I think the shock of the fire kicks him back into gear. He runs to the water, gets in the water, and he lifts his hands up above the water, and his skin is melted off.
Yeah.
Like if you imagine you have your shoe is new and you have a nice like callus where you wear off a section of your foot and it's just kind of like shifts off to the side. That's his entire hand on both sides. Horrifying.
Yup. It's gross to look at. Steven, we had very different reactions.
Yes,
we should
did.
talk about it.
Okay.
So Steven's like, oh my god, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. And I'm like, haha, child predator, go burn.
I have a hard time, and this is the same argument that I have for the death penalty. Is like I couldn't be in enforcing that on someone. Like,
Oh, no. You and I agree on the death penalty
Okay.
because innocent people end up getting the death penalty all the time.
correct.
I do not trust the state to issue the death penalty, and somehow we ended up here. But if a child predator passes out into a fire completely of his own volition, all right.
Yeah, we're disagreeing on this one. I don't know where to go with this.
I mean, there's not many places to go. I mean, I guess people contain multitudes. Jokes aside, and my harsh rhetoric aside, I don't want anyone to burn their hands off. But if someone on the cast had to burn their hands off, I'm glad it was Scoopin'.
You did say this, and yeah, all right. I can't argue with this. Yeah, so he's in the water. Nick thought he had a seizure, which full bearing, I wouldn't put it past it.
Sure, maybe. Yeah.
And they immediately try to get medical crew out. They have a nice subtitle for the medical crew, as if we couldn't figure out who the
Survivor medics. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. I figured these weren't a wandering pack of medics through the Australian outback.
Immediately he's like, give me the pain meds. I need anything you have. Give them to me.
Yep.
He was in agony.
Yeah, and he was like, and I think he was mostly scared. He was like, do whatever you need to do. I don't care if it hurts. Just tell me what I need to do. Scoopin' is practical.
Yes. So, there's a lot of interesting that goes through your brain while these things are happening. Have you ever been around a major accident?
Nothing that's coming to top of mind.
Okay.
But I'm pretty good in emergencies.
So I am too, because my brain goes into immediate fixing mode.
Same.
My high school had an event. My senior year of high school, right before prom season, they contacted a bunch of things. I can't remember what organization this was through, but someone was like, okay, we're going to do a mock crash of, hey, don't go out drinking and driving because this is what could happen. So they set this all up. It was a big thing. They brought every single person from the high school out to watch this. It was on a street next to the high school. They have a car pre-wrecked. They covered it with a tarp, and they had actors underneath, which they didn't ask me to do that, and I'm like a little offended, but we'll get to that. They play audio through speakers, simulating a crash, and then they pull the tarp off, and everyone is like, people are scattered across the ground. There are people alive freaking out. There's one person dead on the ground. You're like, okay, I get what this is trying to do. You're trying to scare me. And then they bring in emergency crews. So they had pre-planned this with emergency crews. This is going on way too long. I'm so sorry. They bring in a fire truck. They bring in ambulance. They bring in a medivac chopper.
Oh my god.
All for this. Like, okay, again, way too over the top, but here we are. They park the fire truck. The fire truck is approximately 50 to 80 feet uphill from this crashed car. The brakes fail on the fire truck, and the fireman gets out. The fire truck rolls through the mock crash and then creates a real crash.
Well, luckily, emergency crews were already on the scene.
Yeah, a person who was thrown from the vehicle was dragged by this car. She got real lucky. The car lifted up, the tire dragged her, flipped her, and then went over top of her.
Oh my god.
So she only ended with minimal burns from the cement. But you essentially scarred an entire school at the same time. My buddy and I jump into action, get people out of there immediately. Nobody else is moving. It was wild.
That's some Arrested Development shit.
Yeah. And then your brain doesn't like comprehend what's going on. I need to get these people to safety immediately. And then afterward, it all settles in that like, holy fuck, what just happened? And then there's crying everywhere.
Sure.
It's a disaster.
Yeah.
And they're like, we need to offer therapy to people. All this story being said, in the moment, everyone is panicking, trying to help. And then they get to the point where he is evacuated, and then everything breaks down.
Yeah, Scoopin', that is. We've transitioned back into Survivor.
Back into scooping.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, I just want to make it clear for the audience.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I mean, and they all have a really, like, sweet goodbye with him. Mm-hmm. He obviously cares about these people quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And they medevac him out. Survivor's first medevac. Those are hard, man.
It's really hard. And they carried him out of the water. They put wraps around his hands. And even while they're doing that, he is in so much pain.
Yeah.
He is essentially being carried unconscious while still being alive and awake and screaming. Horrifying.
Burns are awful.
Burns are awful. And Elizabeth is taking it the hardest, and that's the shot we get from before.
I mean, she seems like I don't say there's any hint of negativity. An emotional person, someone an empath, I guess would be, for lack of a better term.
I like that better.
Yeah,
just awful. And then they show Ogakor getting tree mail, and it's a weird dichotomy of the excitement of getting tree mail. Jerry opens the tree mail, reads it, and then
oh shit.
Yeah, starts walking it back to camp, and everyone's like, "Yeah, tree mail!" And Jerry's like, "No, hold on, this is bad."
This is where a modern season would have probably edited this a little better, where we would have seen Jerry get the tree mail first, react, and all of them go like, yeah, and she goes, "No, wait, something happened," and then it would cut to the Kucha tribe, and we would see what happened.
You would probably have Jeff coming to camp.
Well, that's true too. Yeah, it was weird that they got it through tree mail instead of Jeff telling them.
Yeah. I've seen it done both ways. I've seen it done where Jeff will be the person to come in and say, no, okay, here's the deal. This is what's going on. Usually they save that for the big times.
Sure.
But man, it's so weird having this group sad about someone being hurt to the point of evacuated, but also you see the spark in there of...
They're relieved.
Yeah. It's 5-5 now. We stand a chance.
Mm-hmm. And, like, I don't judge them for that. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, they didn't do it. They're not... None of them are celebrating.
No.
But they can't help the fact that they feel relieved.
Yeah.
This has been a big stressor on them for 9 days, and now it's no longer a stressor.
Yeah. And I think a season where you had mixed the tribes up at any point in this first stage of the game,
right?
I think there would have been a different reaction.
They don't even know who got hurt.
Yeah, they don't know who got hurt. They don't even know these people.
They don't know why they're gone.
Yeah.
They don't know if somebody, just... I mean, they say evacuated, so they know it's something bad, but they don't know that he burnt his hands.
Yeah. Just so weird. But then we end talking about it's 5v5.
I'm interested to see how Kucha in the merge reacts to this, because it could bring them close together, or it could not do much of anything in the cohesion department.
Yeah, I do want to say that it's a big moment.
Yeah.
For the season, just like there, boom.
Yep.
You've changed everyone's perspectives, if nothing else.
And made it much more serious to everyone.
Mm-hmm. And then, just to end the episode, Kentucky Joe leads a prayer. It is a very nice moment.
It is.
They light the candles. He leads a prayer for the Kucha tribe, and
they eat the fish that Scoopin' caught.
Yeah, that's a big moment.
Yeah,
like you forget that was the whole purpose of what was going on because this accident happened.
It felt very human. It felt very, like, almost spiritual.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a prayer, but, like, between all of them it felt bigger than the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It felt very real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the end. It's one of the few episodes that Survivor ends without a tribal. It ends without a person saying their post-game confessional. They do give a confessional for Scoopin at the end.
Yeah.
But it's not post-game. It's just words of wisdom that he said at some point during the game.
It's a confessional they had in the tank about him, with him talking about like what the game means to him.
Yeah. And they kind of, I believe they pulled part of that from something that they showed at the beginning of the episode, which is also another foreshadow where they're just like, hey, what we're doing, I love life, like things are getting difficult, but like I love being out here in Survivor, and boom, that happened.
Yeah, he talked about it being the journey instead of winning. He's like, winning will be anticlimactic.
Yeah.
It's being here that's the good part.
Yeah. It's oof.
I don't really want to comment on how I think Scoopin would do.
Sure.
I don't think there's much there. Like, I think that it's like we didn't see his game end in a way that gives me any information on that.
Yep.
He's clearly good at the survival angle. He makes himself to be the leader, but people are kind of into it, but I don't know that they'd be into it now. But we just don't get to see. He says he doesn't leave in a normal Survivor way. I don't feel like I can make a judgment call on how he would do now.
That's fair.
And I mean, he's the protagonist of the episode just because there's no immunity challenge. There's no real narrative to the episode outside of this accident happened.
Yeah. And this won't be the last time we see Scoopin. Scoopin does come back in season 25. It's not one that we've talked about before because it is specific to this scenario. Where season 25, the Philippines, where they bring back 3 people who were medevaced.
Okay.
So it's specific, just those 3, and they are essentially the leaders of this new group of people.
Okay.
So Scoopin does come back in that. He does address how he came out playing very hard and trying to be the leader, and says, I'm not going to do that again.
Okay.
So we'll leave that to season 25. We will talk about him again. I will give the disclaimer about the...
being a child predator?
Yeah.
Do you have a where are they now, or do you want to wait till season 25 then?
I mean, we'll wait till season 25.
Assuming he goes to prison after season 25.
Yeah, it's 2017 is when charges are officially hit.
That is not that long ago.
No, but it's only a 1 to 4 year charge, and I think 1 is spent in prison and the rest are on probation. So, yeah, he clearly passed that at this point.
Okay. I don't have anything else to add to that.
No, we'll end it on the same note.
Don't burn your hands and assault children.
Yeah, on the same note that Survivor does a real somber end.
We're gonna pray.
Sure.
Lead us in prayer, Stephen.
All right. Dearly beloved, I grab my hand. Thank you, Jared. We're gathered here to talk about
A convicted child predator.
I hate this. I hate this so much.
Finish the bit, Stephen.
Bumper. That'll do it for this episode of the Survivor Turning Back Time podcast. What a weird episode that we just had. I don't think either of us are super prepared for these big, deep conversations.
Oh, no, I love big, deep conversations.
Uh-huh.
If this was anyone else on the tribe, I'd have a much easier time talking about it.
Yeah. There's so much conflicted feeling and so much that we just, like... It's a horrible thing to happen to someone who is also not great.
I always expected Scoopin to hurt someone on this season. I just didn't expect it to be himself.
Anything you'd like to promote?
Yeah. I'd like to plug Notebook the musical. We've had, this episode's kind of heavy and weird, and that's our fault, but it's also Survivor's fault, and no one's fault. But Notebook, the musical at Chicago Shakespeare Theater for the next few weeks, and then in New York in a couple of months, for sure, because it will be on Broadway. It's really good. I had never seen the movie. I only know, some of the plot points.
I wrote to you.
None of that's kind of in there.
Okay.
They do a really good job of like keeping some of the plot points while getting rid of the stuff that's corny or problematic and making it a memory play.
Okay.
The music written by Ingrid Michaelson. It's very good.
All right.
She was a good fit for that.
I am going to punt on my things to promote, but talk about a thing that I can't believe I blanked on prior to this episode and the episode before. We were in New York, and I had a Broadway roulette is a thing where you get you pay a certain amount of money, and then you get a ticket to a random Broadway show. The show that I ended up winning was a ticket to Aladdin, which I had never seen before, and I wasn't like super excited about it because it's a Disney, and I understand the plot of Aladdin. But whatever, I'll go to it. I paid the money. I get there, I watch the show. We get up right to the front edge of Friend Like Me, the big entrance of the genie, and the Cave of Wonders is collapsing. Aladdin runs forward, the lights go down, and Aladdin disappears. And not in a magic way that has been established in this show. The lights come back up, and he's just not there. He ran right into the pit, he fell, and nobody really knew what to do. It was a good 2 minutes of... Attention, ladies and gentlemen. We are having technical difficulties.
Our technical difficulties are Aladdin's shin bone is no longer inside of his leg.
A person fell, and very clearly in front of everyone. I couldn't really see from where I was because I was pretty far back, but oh boy, if I was in that front row, you would have some stories to tell. He was okay.
Yeah.
Apparently. He just went to the hospital for a routine checkup just to make sure everything was fine.
Not routine. It's not his weekly fall into the pit performance.
Correct. You're right.
But no, yeah. Precautionary is what
precautionary
you're looking for.
is the word, yes.
Honey, wake up. It's time for you to fall in the pit again.
Steven, wake up.
Fall in the pit.
Yeah. But the best part was they start with the next scene. And they come out, they say, okay, we're going to have a new Aladdin. He's going to look different. It's okay.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the genie comes out and gives the live theater, am I right, speech. He comes out and he says, Aladdin, you saw, everyone saw, he's okay. He's very ripped. He's going to be fine. He almost says that word for word. It was great. But yes, we're going to keep going with the show, and Aladdin's going to look different. Okay.
You didn't tell me that. You didn't tell me they continued the show.
Oh, it was great.
Wow.
And they start with Aladdin passed out in the Cave of Wonders, and the first line out of Aladdin's mouth, my head. The audience goes berserk. A beautiful little moment there. So that'll do it for this episode. For my co-host Jared, I am your host Steven.
What are we doing here? What is this?
I'm shutting the show down.
For my host Steven, this is Jared.
Don't hurt yourself, please.
But hurt child predators.
Yeah.
And Nazis.
Ooh, there you go. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.